and welcome back to Reactivity TV. I'm Amy Albero, and I'm a licensed therapist.
I'm Chris. I'm not a licensed therapist, but what I am this week is thoroughly confused. I have absolutely no idea what I just watched. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. I think a lot of our viewers are going to be really happy this week because I don't have much to say because I don't even know how to process what I just watched. So you're going to have to carry this episode because it might be weeks before I have opinions.
Well, I don't know that I have a whole lot to say either, but I might be able to translate girl fighting for you if that was what was tripping you up. But literally the whole episode, he was like, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know what's happening.
I didn't grow up with sisters. I had two brothers. I understand male fighting. This female stuff that was going on this episode, I found rather confusing.
Yes. Well, I think then we have some things to talk about. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, we are back. We are talking about Grant's season of The Bachelor, the Women Tell All episode. And we're going to get into all of that. But make sure that you hit that like button at the bottom of this video and subscribe. It's such a small thing that actually goes a really long way and means so much to us. And we really appreciate it when you do.
Yeah. Please also hit that bell icon so that you're alerted anytime we post new content to the channel.
Okay, so the reality is that this episode was kind of much ado about nothing. Like it was essentially the same conflict that we saw play out over the last 6 weeks. So I agree in that there's not a whole lot to talk about, but we should probably go through some of the dynamics, some of the hot seats, if you will, and take it from there.
Yeah. Well, before we even do that, can I just say that Jesse kept saying over and over and over again that there was all these shocking eliminations. And I kept wondering what he's talking about because there were no shocking eliminations. We knew exactly what was happening this entire season. So is this him just playing to the crowd? Is this the thing that he's supposed to say, to make everyone feel good or to just gin up interest in the next season? Or are we just ahead of the curve here?
Well, I think he was saying that the women were shocked that they went home. And I think that, one of the kind of common threads that came up during this Women Tell All, and Grant admitted to himself, was that he was very generous with his validation. And he probably gave some women maybe a false sense of security in just speaking about his feelings. But in doing that, they were inferring that maybe they had a deeper connection or that they were farther along or that they were going to make it to the next week based on some of the words that he was saying. And he admitted to not being very precise with his words. And that's what kind of got him into some, not trouble, but cause for these mixed messages.
Yeah, I mean, I think early in the season, we definitely were critical of some of the ways Grant was handling the relationships and handling some of the drama that was unfolding in the house. So I think early on, there's some fault to be laid at his feet. I do think that later on in the season, he's really come around and kind of figured out how to be a lead and has demonstrated a lot more strength in the role.
Right. I agree. I mean, we've been saying that now for weeks, that he's kind of come into his own. And even tonight, granted, on the Women Tell All, he didn't say much. He's way better in front of the camera than we saw him at the end of Joan's season of Golden Bachelorette. So he's definitely grown a lot and done a good job, I think.
Yeah. And the other thing, before we get into all the events, historically, you've all heard me say it, the tell-alls are my least favorite episode of the season because with the men, it's not men tell all, it's men say nothing. And with the women, as can be demonstrated tonight, the women say things and I don't know what's going on. And so I'm either confused or bored or sometimes both. And today I feel like was one of those both situations.
Yeah.
There was no new drama that got, injected. It was the same couple of people. And quite frankly, 2/3 of the people that they brought in never made an impact on the show. And I didn't really understand why we're there, what their contribution was supposed to be. And most of them we never even heard from.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely felt so. Chris and I were simultaneously watching the Women Tell All and the Love is Blind reunion. And there were multiple common threads actually between these two episodes. But one of the prominent ones was they were just trying to fill up space and time.
Yeah.
It just felt like they didn't have enough show to give us. And so I think that was part of why we got what we got, or who we got rather, because again, there was really nothing to pull from.
Yeah.
So why don't we take Carolina in sections, and we'll start with Carolina and Rose.
Yeah. So basically, we get a rehashing of what was said, who said what. Rose basically doubles down on the fact that she thought that Carolina, her roommate, was supposed to be her friend. They were saying things in confidence. Carolina left the conversation laughing and giggling and whatever, friendly, and then turns around and claims that she was upset. And so from Rose's perspective, she feels as though that there was definitely some shadiness happening here with Carolina, because if she was truly upset, she would have demonstrated some outward sign of that upset.
Right.
And that's really the thrust of Rose's "you stabbed me in the back" comments.
Yes. That and I think the other piece of it was shared by Rose and the other women was that if this did upset you, yes, of course, talk to Grant, but the timing was not okay. The fact that you used this opportunity at a rose ceremony to do it was also wrong, to kind of, again, gain all the attention and monopolize the situation for your own gain when other women were there as well.
Mm-hmm. So you tell me, I mean, how are you reading this situation? From my perspective, I can they're all wrong. Like, I think Rose is wrong. I think Carolina's wrong. I think Grant's wrong. I think everybody's wrong.
The way that I could just summarize it all is that they all just spun their wheels. Like, there was really no movement. Carolina was committed to her point. She was really not interested in hearing from anybody else. She was just interested in continuing to push the narrative that, she did nothing wrong. Yep. And if Rose was upset by that, then, she's sorry, that kind of thing. But yeah, that she was the victim and that this was basically her downfall in the house. And so, I mean, what is there to really say here? We had Carolina ultimately not taking much responsibility at all for her part in it. And she was just, again, unwilling to even hear the other women's perspective. She keeps saying, all of you hate me, but she's not really interested in learning about why the other women were so upset with her. She's listening on the defense the entire time, or with the defensiveness on the entire time, meaning she wasn't really listening at all. And so she wasn't really there to gain any insight. She was there to try to push her point forward. And nobody won, except that she got a lot of attention and screen time.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's ultimately her whole shtick, right? Yeah. Like, she wants the attention. She's going to get the attention. She dominated the show. She's dominating the tell-all.
And she's dominating everyone that's going to be talking about it after.
Yep, exactly. Like us.
Yep.
Fell right into her trap.
Yeah.
The gaping maw of Carolina.
So to kind of resolve this situation, like, at the end, when Grant comes out, basically Carolina, her whole thing is like, I don't really have to take accountability. Grant needs to take accountability.
She was really going hard at Grant, suggesting that, he's the one who did everything wrong, and didn't even want to have these conversations until Grant was there.
Yeah.
And of course,
what an attempt at a power move. It's again, it's not your show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So she did think it was.
Yeah.
Based on what was written on her outfit?
It said "crazy and evil" on the back, but I didn't see what was on the front pocket.
Was it like the Carolina show or something?
Well, she
like
said this is Carolina show. Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of was.
It was,
especially early in the season when Grant had no control over the season. Yeah.
Right. And so she kept deferring responsibility and deferring actually having to hear anything about this conversation. But Jesse kind of held her feet to the fire as much as he could to know, like, while we're here, like, you and Rose are going to kind of talk about this. But I kept screaming at the TV, like, just roll the tape. We've all seen it now. Just roll the tape. And finally, at the end, when Grant comes, we get to see this interaction. Grant, never specified it was while he was with Carolina. Even while watching it back, though, if you watched her reaction, she clearly still heard it the same way.
Rose, you mean?
No. Carolina.
Oh, okay.
And because she's the star of her own movie, right? Yeah. And so she wants to believe that everything revolves around her because it does. And Grant was there to say, like, no, more than just you were dancing on stage, Carolina. He didn't say that directly, but that was what was inferred. Anyway, so we got that kind of resolved, and he said I could have been more precise with my words there. And Rose was the one that said this was all my fault. I misunderstood. And so again, who takes responsibility? Grant. Rose. Does Carolina? No. And she's now blaming him for saying he told her, this will stay between us or something. And then he went and kind of investigated. And so she felt like he betrayed her trust. And they're all like, yeah, but you just did that same thing to Rose. And listen, like it gets resolved in the best way that it can, in that at least there's some transparency over what the conversation was. But there will be no spoiler. There will be no resolution on the part of Carolina. So let's just move on to the next
Carolina section. Yeah. Dina. So we had said at the very end, they're not friends. They're sort of frenemies. This is what it's going to be. They end up getting into some social media beef.
So this is where you really got lost.
I was just like, what? Like, why is Dina's social media post bad? Why is Carolina's bad? Like, I don't understand why either one of these is bad. I don't understand why people are commenting and reacting and shocked by anything. Like Dina's saying, oh, my post was just a tease for the next episode. And Carolina's like going back at her with something. I'm like, okay. Like, is that a threat? Why is that a threat? Like, none of it made sense to me. Please just explain this to me.
I will do my best to try to explain. After the episode where Dina had Carolina's back, right? The teaser, the preview for the upcoming week was Dina saying, essentially, I defended you last week, kind of like going at Carolina. Mm-hmm. And so what Dina did was tease. She found a viral sound on TikTok and teased next week saying whatever she said,
Sure.
Next week I'll be yada yada. And so in her mind, and her intention was, it was harmless. It was like exposing what's going to happen on the show to kind of get viewers to be interested and watch next week. Carolina apparently took that very personally and as like an antagonistic thing. And so she retaliated by posting with the same viral sound, a video directly about Dina, basically saying, I have receipts of things that you've said to me. And so she's feeling on the attack, Carolina. And so she's going after Dina and attacking her about what I don't know what these receipts were. Only they know what they were talking about and why this might have been so damning or why this might have been so threatening. But Dina's whole point was like, mine was about promoting the show. You were coming after me directly in a way that is like, feels much more personal. Like I'm literally just using what's already there.
But why was Dina even talking to Carolina? She knows who Carolina is.
She wasn't talking to Carolina.
No. I mean, like, the receipts, had some communication.
Yeah, they had said that. I think that they were. Now I'm really getting the two shows.
No. They had said that they were talking. That's why I'm confused. Like, who Carolina is? Why you? So
they
up with her?
Because they had like that fine goodbye, right? And then Dina was.
But we all presume that was just a fake goodbye, so that Carolina could get a little.
Maybe not. I don't know. But it seemed, if we were to take again, as Dina said it, the four corners of the show. If we only view what we have in front of us. They left, they were fine, on fine terms, not best friends, but fine. And then it sounded like they were DMing during the show. And in the DMs, Carolina continued to deflect responsibility and blame Grant and throw Grant under the bus or production or whatever. So I suspect that Dina was probably saying some things in agreement. And then when it became a little bit too, Dina said like, but did you notice I stopped responding to you at a certain point because Carolina continued to deflect. And so I think that those were the receipts that Carolina was going to pull out is when she was probably talking shit about people, is what I had to guess.
My guess is that if Carolina actually showed these receipts, they would be about as weak as what Madison showed on Love is Blind, which, spoiler, those were the weakest receipts. I'm not even sure what the heck she was thinking to get. I don't know, like, with enough innuendo suggesting like maybe there was something there, that they both did the same thing. And both of them, it feels like, failed. It's like you either have something or you don't.
Yeah.
Right? Don't threaten to have something, play innuendo games. Like, you either have it or you don't have it.
Right.
Right?
Well, and anyway, this whole, I think that, Carolina is not necessarily a reasonable person. And so there's no arguing with her. Like, she's never going to see it your way at this point. I mean, she really is committed to her narrative. And a lot of people are. And she is just not ready to really hear anyone's perspective. And that seems just dramatically and drastically clear on this tell-all and the way she's behaved on social media since.
Mm-hmm. That sounds remarkably similar to what you said about me after our last Love is Blind.
Yeah, I'm noticing a very big parallel.
Hey, listen, if only I was as attractive as Carolina.
Damn.
I know, right? So Dina and her, they are snapping at each other the entire episode. It's really kind of quite annoying by the end. Like, I don't know. It just, for me, I was just, it got a little tiresome. It was really during the first Dina section where all the girls started to pile on now. Everyone was jumping in. There was a lot of talking over. Jesse's just hanging back. It was, I didn't get, this whole Dina section was tough.
There's, again, nothing to get. Like, they're still not on, I mean, I don't know. As of that point, not on real friendly speaking terms.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we got no resolution when anyone was on the couch, and we got no resolution when Grant came out. So we're just stuck in this social media frenemy feud, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I guess the one thing with Dina that was a bit of a shot across the bow was when Dina says that I bought you another week.
Right.
I believe she said, in Madrid, right?
Yeah, she said, Grant really trusted my opinion, and he asked me, there's all this drama around Carolina. What do you think of her? And Carolina had said to Grant at that point, all the things that I said in front of the other women defending you is what I said to Grant. And I bought you another week. I'm not the reason you went home in Scotland. I'm the reason you got there in the first place. I bought you that week in Madrid. And Carolina was floored. And that was, a shot across the bow. I
just want to point out, now this is something I understand. Mm-hmm. This is universal guy and girl. Mm-hmm. This is these be fighting words. Mm-hmm. And so, maybe the only point in the episode where I was like, I know what's going on right here.
And there was nothing Carolina could say. This was like the only time that she was really speechless, to the point where what did she do? She, of course, walked off stage and had to take a break and had to, have her own separate exit and, all of that stuff. And then came in and, interrupted Alex's hot seat a little while later. Like, she is just so predictable, and yet it works every time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and when you're that good looking, that's just how life is. Living life on easy mode,
I mean, and she's really good at this too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not just that she's pretty and she gets attention. It's what she does when she gets it that works.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So shall we go on to the next section with Carolina, which is her hot seat?
Sure.
So, I mean, I don't think there's a lot to talk about here. It's basically just rehashing what we've already done. It kind of felt like they should have not gone to Carolina when she's still in the crowd seats. What do they call these things? Whatever. When she's not still in the crowd, they should have waited and done it when she was on the hot seat.
Yeah, they sort of wasted the hot seat.
Yeah, it just felt like the exact same stuff. But ultimately, we get her look back, and her look back was the problem with her look back is that half of her look back was just the teasers and trailers for the next episodes, and it was the what happened on last episode. And so I just felt like I've seen all this material every single week because she was the center of attention. So even the look back was like, can we move on with it, they Jesse asked her, about the confrontation with Rose and Grant, and kind of why did she feel she had to? Did she feel like she had to confront him? And if so, like, kind of why then? And he was a little evasive about the question, but that was the thrust of what he was trying to get at. And her response is, yes, I absolutely had to say something. And she sort of dodged around why it had to be then, right? Mm-hmm. Effectively. Which I think we all know why. It's because there's no answer you can give there that's a good answer. And we all know why she did it, because it works and it gets her attention and nobody else gets time with them. And I thought the most insightful part of this entire hot seat was when Jesse asks her, when things sort of turned for her, and, how she thought she ended up going home. And full on blame of the other women. Now, in fairness, Jesse sort of led her there, a little bit of a leading the witness here, where it's like, oh, do you feel like the other women's reaction towards you played a factor? And of course, that's all she needed to just go straight down that path. And we got the very predictable, yes, it's all the other women's fault, effectively. Just double, triple, quadrupling down on what she had already said. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's not a lot of takeaway from this hot seat. It's exactly what we've already seen. Did I miss anything important here?
No, it's all more of the same.
More of the same. So then to finish off with Carolina, Grant comes out. Mm-hmm. And we already talked about the confrontation with Rose and Carolina. I think that the most interesting part of the Grant Carolina conversation was when Grant is asked, when did you feel like things, kind of were going down with Carolina? And I thought this was actually one of his shining PR moments. He evaded that entirely, and he answered perfectly. It never went down. It just stopped growing, and everybody else continued to progress. And he does, they get into a little bit of detail. And what I love about this is that he gave concrete details. I hate when these shows, we'll be talking about the Love is Blind reunion here relatively soon. And there's a perfect example of it where nobody says anything. Everything is sort of evasive and doesn't give any concrete details. He gave exact concrete details. It's like, no, the group date is when things stopped. That's when things stalled out. And she says, oh, it's when I'm sitting alone, because she's already got that prepared. I was sitting alone. And the reason I was sitting alone was because everyone was being mean to me. It's like, no, it had nothing to do with you being alone. It's the demeanor, right?
Right. It's the energy
it's not the actions. Yeah. It's the energy. Exactly. And she didn't really know how to respond to that. But then she did spin it around into, well, it's because the other girls were mean to me.
They didn't speak to me.
Yeah, didn't speak to me. And Grant held firm here and was basically like, look, you choose how you show up effectively, right? And in so many words. And I thought this was a shining moment for Grant.
Yeah.
Because he didn't back down. He told her the truth.
Right.
In the kindest way he possibly could while still saying the truth.
She was trying to bury him. She had that whole thing around like, well, in that conversation with Dina, you said you clocked it. So I want to know exactly when you clocked it. Was it when we were sitting and talking together, or when was it? And that's where, Grant was beautifully maneuvered this and kind of zoomed out and talked about her energy and her demeanor as a whole. And this was the first time there was really nothing for her to bump up against.
Yeah. Now, I do wonder if he was sitting in the back, because we don't know how many hours before he came out.
He was watching this?
Yeah, he could have been watching this behind the scenes. He's seeing this and he knows kind of what's coming. She was not shy about telegraphing where she was going. She had kind of attempted to sort of throw him under the bus multiple times. So I'm wondering if he's sitting in the back with his PR person and they're like planning how to deflect against this. But it was perfect. He really did a great job here. And Carolina was sort of left with nothing to say. And dare I say, that is the end of the Carolina story?
Even if it's not, can it be for us?
Do we think Carolina ends up on Paradise?
Absolutely.
Has to, right?
Absolutely.
She's too pretty and too much drama and too messy not to be on Paradise, right? Has to be. Yep. All right. So shall we move on to the first hot seat of the day? And that was Alex.
Yes. Not a whole lot to say here. I was happy to see her get some time to shine. I really, really love her a lot. I hope we see more of her. But yeah, we saw that she got reunited with, Linda the llama, and we saw her look back, of course, but she's just such good vibes. I really thought that they were going to extend the invite to Paradise on the hot seat. So I was disappointed not to get that, but it was really nice to see her again.
Yeah, I think that they should send her to Paradise, because I feel like she's the type of girl that will elicit a lot of interest in people that at least want to meet her, right? We'll see about dating and whatever, but I think a lot of people will be like, okay, I'm very interested in at least sitting down, having a date with her, getting to know her, and seeing if something can evolve from there. Yep. Really not much of anything. All we really talk about is how she was shocked that, and spoiler, this is a theme throughout all the hot seats. Everybody's shocked. Also, theme throughout the hot seats. Did you notice that basically everybody on a hot seat, when they show their elimination, who'd they get eliminated to? Zoe. In every one of them. I'm like, am I watching the same scene over and over and over again? And it was, right? Because, Dina, Serafina both get eliminated. Alex and Serafina get eliminated at the same time, and they both get eliminated to Zoe. Dina gets eliminated to Zoe.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was basically just, it kind of looked like the Zoe show, and you'd never think Zoe is literally just bumping along at the very end. So I got a kick out of that, but yeah, it was just, we talked about shock.
Right. I mean, it's very clear at this point that the first impression rose on the Bachelor season is the kiss of death, because she says this too, the first impression rose and getting the first date, I think ultimately set our connection back, because we met so early on. And so we had to kind of keep it kind of light. And then the relationship never really progressed after that.
Yeah, men are object oriented. We have a very short term memory. It's you just have to kind of stay in front of us,
Yeah.
right? And if you don't stay in front of us, we're too visual, is what I will say. We're way too visual, and as a result,
when there's 20 other women,
it's really hard to get lost. And yeah, that's just kind of the nature of the beast. So. That's poor, but I think Alex is going to do well. I hope we see her on Paradise.
Me too.
So then we go on to Serafina's hot seat.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of poor me, and her whole thing just felt like just super desperate sounding. One of the things she kept talking about was it just felt to me like she's saying, "I just want to bring a man home, any man. I don't care who he is."
That's not what she was saying at all. She was saying
it feels like
her whole thing was, "I love very hard, but apparently I'm not good at showing it because I essentially keep getting this outcome and keep getting this feedback." And she's not very demonstrative. She's kind of low energy, like very reserved, with kind of seems withholding. And how much of that is being on TV and, her mom watching, and how much of that is her personality, I don't know. But I think that was what she was saying, is like, she wasn't really very forthcoming with her feelings through her words or her actions, and that she just is more reserved in that way. So that's what she was saying.
Sure. I mean, to me, the thing that you don't want to be when trying to attract a man is feeling like you just are filling a role, and feeling like there's a desperation to it.
Sure.
And she was really giving, I'm looking to fill a role. I'm not necessarily looking for a guy. And that's just the impression I got.
Yeah, I didn't hear that at all.
That's fair. But like that would be my feedback would be, that's how I interpreted it. That's how I felt. And if you're seeing a lot of that same behavior happening in your relationships, that's probably what I would look to see. Maybe there's you're letting off some vibes that are making men feel like maybe they're not actually special. They're just there.
A placeholder.
Mm-hmm. And that's that's not ever going to do well. Again, I think we have a very small sample size, so who knows? But that's what it read for me.
Dina.
On to Dina, right? All right. So, Dina, I thought was confusing.
You said this as we were watching it. I don't.
She was okay.
She was more straightforward.
Let me just take my victory lap.
I will take a victory lap too.
Yes, but I'm the one who's on record. Remember, everyone, my tinfoil hat? I said Dina did not want her family there. She self-eliminated. I know it sounds tinfoil hat, but and I get listed off all of the reasons. And she admitted on the couch, it was her, everything that I predicted, my entire theory that people said I was crazy for. She admitted
people
to the
say
whole
we're
thing.
Crazy?
They did, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, victory lap up top.
Is that what you want?
Yep. I listened. I didn't get much right in this episode because I was confused. And so the moment where I can get something right and I understand what went on, let's take that lap and run. But look, the entire thing with Dina this episode was confusing because I found what she was saying to be kind of incoherent. When Grant comes out, he and Dina have this exchange, and I'm like confused. The way Dina's starting at him, it's like, wait, are you attacking him? But now you're apologizing.
It was a little bit of a circular argument because she was saying, you told me that when we broke up, not meeting my family was not a deal breaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I watched it back, you had said meeting what's her name? Dina's family could be make or break. And so that was really surprising to hear because that's not what you told me. And so why didn't you tell me this? And did you not tell me because you didn't think that you could? Like, was it something I did or said that made you not feel like you could? And if it was, I'm really sorry that you felt like you couldn't be honest with me. Basically, that's what she was saying. You're saying that contradictory thing.
But at the same time, when he says, no, that's not actually the reason, she says, but it should be the reation.
Yeah.
It's like,
and
now
then
I'm really confused.
But yeah, she's saying, but that does, like, why wouldn't it be a reason?
Yeah. And this is, she had done things like this, like 2 other times in the episode, where I'm saying, I don't understand what you're trying to say. Are you in attack mode? Are you not in attack mode? Like, the whole thing felt really muddled.
I think she was
incoherent.
feeling like you're not being honest with me, and I'm trying to give you an out to be honest with me.
Sure.
I think that's what it was.
Yeah, but like it doesn't really matter. Like this is the thing is I don't even get why this is even a thing. Like he didn't have to tell you that family's important to him. He said it every single moment in every meeting, in every speech, in every date. All he talked about was how important family was. He doesn't need to tell you like directly
Well,
out.
the
Like
thing
not
that
me,
I
your
thought
family
that he was
sucks.
going to say, but he would never, when she was saying, was there a reason that you didn't tell me that this not meeting them was a big deal? I mean, the most honest answer would be, yeah, because I didn't want you to feel like shit over something that I think you have no control over. Like what's he supposed to say? I mean, his answer was, I honestly was not really even thinking about my feelings at the time. I was thinking about you.
Which is a great answer.
Yeah.
Lie, truth, doesn't matter. Great answer. Right?
Yeah, it was. And
Grant did great this episode.
He did
fantastic. Really.
Considering what he was walking into.
Yeah. Well, although all things considered,
it could have been worse.
It
was no Joey Graziadei, a women tell all, where they all worshipped him for 2 hours.
Sure,
but
it also wasn't one of these where he really put himself into a bunch of holes and stuff like that. Like for the most part, he had some rough early moments, but outside of the Carolina really took a lot of the heat off him.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. So anything else we want to talk about with Dina?
No, I think that we covered it.
Okay. So then we are on to the last hot seat of the night, and that is Grant. We get all the typical fluffy stuff, like we're all just going to put the lead on the pedestal, and we're all just going to, lick his boots, basically. Not a lot of interesting stuff, really, until you got to the Dina thing that we already talked about. And then we get to the Carolina conversation, which we kind of already talked about. The highlight of the episode for me is when they do Chubby Bunny, he and Jesse. Now, I just want to back up here. Peeps are delicious.
Do you want to do Chubby Bunny right now?
I want to do that Chubby Bunny competition. I am convinced that I can beat both of them.
You think you could do more than 5?
Listen, I will put all of the Peeps in my mouth, all of them.
Do we have any Peeps?
We do not, because I
ate them all.
Peeps don't last long in this house. They are the most delicious thing in the world.
Okay, I'm going to have Chris try it and I'll report back.
Okay. Well, wait, after vacation. Actually, we are going to be on vacation on Easter.
Right.
So what we can do is we can do a Chubby Bunny vacation. I'll do it on the beach. You can bring them down on a tray.
Be all sandy.
No. We'll do. When we do our beach pizza dinner date, dessert can be a bunch of Chubby Bunnies. We'll bring them down. We'll have We'll have Serge bring them down for us. So the fact that Chubby Bunny was the highlight of the episode for me, I think kind of says all there is to say. There just isn't a lot here. So what did we miss? Is there like I feel like we just had a whole podcast about a 2-hour episode and we basically didn't say anything.
I mean, neither did they.
Yeah. And people, what did we miss? Did we miss some great enlightening thing in here? Did somebody say something super interesting that we just didn't talk about? Because this was a long 2 hours. Oh, and just to be honest, we skipped the bloopers so we could watch Love is Blind. So
I did. I was kind of multitasking.
I hate the bloopers
viewing
anyways.
Bloopers while listening to one of the back and forths on Love is Blind. There was lots of literally being said. There was a really funny one of Alex opening a date card and she couldn't pull it out of the envelope. That was funny, but as usual, bugs, things like that.
Yeah, the bloopers aren't. I'm not a big bloopers fan. Yeah. I just don't. That's just yeah.
But yeah, this wasn't really a whole lot that was said, and so not a whole lot to say about it.
All right, and with that, let's get out of here.
Yeah. So we will be back next week with, the penultimate episode where it's fantasy suites, overnight dates. So we will be back talking about that. We'll also be back very soon with our thoughts to the Love is Blind reunion. I need to gather my thoughts before we get into that one, but you'll see another episode from us this week on that. But if you want to catch up with us off YouTube, you can follow us on Instagram at Reactivity TV. You can follow me at Amy Albero LCSW. Send us your emails to reactivitytv@revivecfw.com. But otherwise, we will see you in the comments. We love hearing what you have to say, hearing your takes on our takes. So keep them coming. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Spoiler, Zoe goes home next week.
That's unverified spoiler.